We got it.
We did it. Hi, Georgie.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going great. You look like you're staying relatively cool in the scorching Northwest.
Yeah, we're baking up here, but hanging in. Should get more comfortable by the weekend. But it's neat how you adapt to it. Like I think I'm adjusting.
You're well adjusted.
Yes.
All right, I got a question for you that comes up often, particularly around snacks or treats, sometimes with meals with super flavorful stuff like pizza. And it's basically, I can't stop. I just can't stop eating. So a couple questions baked in here. Why do people often feel like they can't stop? Why is it also often beneficial to feel like they can't stop? Like, why might they tell themselves they can't stop?
Yeah.
And lastly, what might we do to help people begin to stop or acknowledge that they are in control and can stop?
Super set of questions. I think everybody in the field has heard this at some point. It's kind of like right up there with the, I know what to do and I'm just not doing it. It's the I can't stop. So as you said, it's something that is part of the internal dialogue that goes with overeating incidents for a lot of people. There's usually some dawning of awareness as we're like, wow, I'm getting really full, that we start to think this isn't what I want to do, or this isn't what I said I was going to do. And then that counter thought, it's like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. The angel's like, we didn't want to eat this many slices of pizza. And the devil's like, but we can't stop. And so one side is encouraging you to, put things down, and the other side is telling you, you can't help it. You might as well just keep going. So some of the reasons that people gain that mindset of believing they can't stop is because they extrapolate that from an experience where they found it difficult to stop, or they chose not to stop. And one of the things our minds do to reduce the amount of pain that we feel is sometimes if we failed to do something, they tell us we couldn't do it. But there's a whole lot of other reasons why on a particular given day, a person might not actually stop where they wanted to. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean that it's beyond their capability or their control. There's innumerable factors that could be involved. So what I like to do with people often is we'll kind of go through a scenario of imagining, like, what's the food that you feel like you can't stop? And if the fire alarm went off while you were eating that food and like you had to get out of the building, you're smelling smoke, it's a real deal, what would you do? Would you stay there to continue eating the food? Would you go outside? Would you take it with you? Or would you use your hands to grab a couple valuables or your cat? And most people will say like, well, yeah, if there's a fire, I'm going to grab other stuff and go outside. So that's an example of where you can stop. It's a rare extenuating circumstance, extreme as an example for sure. But once we've got an example of one time where you could stop, we've taken away the idea that it's impossible, because it's not under anybody else's control. It's under your control. If you can put the food down and exit the room to save your life, you can also put the food down and exit the room in service of your goals. It's just a matter of tapping into motivation the right way. So once we've established that it's possible, I always feel like I really, really want to assure my client that I know it's hard. Like, just because something's possible does not make it easy. A lot of things that are possible that are incredibly difficult, and this can be one of them. But once we've got the possibility, then we can talk about what makes it hard and how we can, bring the challenge level down to where it's something someone feels capable of. So some of the reasons that it's hard to stop, or that it's hard to grasp the idea that we can stop, is because there's benefits to thinking that we can't stop. One is that all the times that we failed, we're not really blaming ourselves for making a poor choice or a choice that's out of line with our goals. It feels a little less personal to say I couldn't do it. There's also some immediate benefits, because if I tell myself I can't stop once I start eating M&Ms, I get to eat a lot more M&Ms. So, this works very well to get me more immediate gratification of the taste kind. Sometimes people will also throw in the idea that if I get rid of all of this food, then it won't be there to tempt me later tonight or tomorrow. Like it's best that I continue and eat the rest of this pounder bag of M&Ms. Um, and I see a healthy core in that. Like I see there's, when someone's saying that, they're expressing that they want to have a more supportive environment around them. They're recognizing this is a distressing thing. And if I have a more supportive environment, it can help me prevent doing this activity again. So I'm all for, if a food is causing you distress, to own it in the moment, part with it. You got a trash can, you got a disposal. If you have compost or a dog or a cat that's not going to get unwell from eating your food, like can't get dogs chocolate and all that, you can get rid of food in a number of ways other than having to eat it. So I find a lot of people can adopt that as their new sort of thought that pops up. Like, oh, might as well finish it. I want that like Georgie response to come in and be like, but you can get rid of it in a lot of different ways. So anybody that's listening, I do encourage people to, if you hear your little voice inside say, yeah, but I can't stop. Imagine what if the fire alarm went off? And if I do want to get rid of this food, I can come up with many other ways to do it other than ingesting it. So I'm not sure if I covered all your questions, Halen. I think I forgot all three of them. What did I miss?
No, you transitioned into what can folks start doing to begin to allow themselves to stop. And we talked to Georgie's megaphone, hearing Georgie's voice in their head. Have other options than continue eating it. But on some level, we need to accept responsibility, right, for your actions, because unless you're willing to do that, then it's true, you can't stop. If you don't feel like you're responsible ultimately, or you ultimately have the choice to decide to stop or not, without that, you really can't move on. Is that true?
Yeah, and that's a good point, because just like there's benefits, like if I believe that I'm powerless in the face of M&Ms, then I get to eat more M&Ms. There's also a reward in feeling like if I'm not responsible, I don't have to blame myself as much. But there's also a lot of benefits to the, changing that, trading that in for the belief that it's hard, but I can actually do this. Because the benefits that we get there are a sense of feeling agency, of feeling powerful and in control. And so it's not like you can get benefits from either one. So if you decide, I can have more M&Ms if I keep this belief, or I can have a sense of agency and control if I take this belief, it's not really like a horrible thing. Because taking responsibility has a bit of a negative connotation. Like, who's going to take responsibility for this? It can be really good to think like, yeah, I'm responsible, and that means I can take care of myself, and I don't need to rely on somebody else to, slap the food away out of my hand.
Yeah. And it also allows you to up your level of integrity, as we talked about before, right? When you take responsible, you can operate with integrity, or more simply, like do the things you say you want to do.
100%. Yeah, it does. I have experienced great losses of integrity from repeatedly doing things I didn't want to do. And I think most people out there have had some experience where they've done something that doesn't line up with their values, or they've just broken promise after promise after promise to their self. And you feel like, who am I if I say I'm going to do this and then here I am doing that, or I say I'm not going to do that and poof, I'm doing it for the third time this week. Right. It feels really good when what we say we're going to do, our intentions, our values, our actions, like everything lines up and just feels like one. So if you notice, I said I wasn't going to do this and here I am doing it again. The game's not over. You can stop and start rebuilding that sense of integrity right away from saying, I was going off track and I noticed that and I corrected. And I think some of the biggest benefit there, in my experience, has been that you don't suffer as much emotional pain afterward, because it hurts when we, have to accept the fact that we've done something out of line with our values. But if you can accept that I did, and then I chose to practice going in the other direction and realigning, kind of like I made the save. And so it can make us feel better. So I think
I love this idea of like the game is never over, right? That there's always an opportunity to make a decision that will allow you to feel some sense of integrity, or at least make a decision in line with your goals.
Totally. Yeah. It's like
And I'm most happy that you worked the word agency in there a couple times. That's one of my favorite words these days.
yeah, is one that you like?
Yeah.
Agency. The word
Awesome.
of the day is agency.
All right, Georgie, you nailed it. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.